Hey guys, we're back with Jamin and Ashley Mills for another episode of Jeffrey Court's Designer Coffee Chats. Today, we're talking about all the things that they don't tell you about renovations. And oh boy, are there all the things we can talk about.
How much time do we have for this?
I think we might need some extra strong coffee for today's topic.
For sure, yeah. There's a whole gamut of things I think we could cover, and I'm sure everybody watching has had their own experiences with this too, or they know someone who's told them some kind of horror story about renovations.
There's so many horror stories out there about different renovations, and I'm sure with all the work that you guys have done over the years, you have seen probably the worst of what could go wrong in renovations.
Pretty much. A little bit of everything in the wide, wide world of giant possibilities.
Yeah, I think every project has some kind of horror story to it. You get into it and discover something you didn't know was there, whether it's taking out a wall or trying to figure out that, oh wait, this wall is not square, and trying to compensate for that. So there's always kind of something that you plan for, that you just know there's gonna be something, you just don't know what it is. And so I think when you're talking renovations with people, the first advice we give them is to go ahead and expect, a oh man kind of moment, like I didn't know this was gonna happen, I didn't know it was gonna cost us extra, and just kind of have that in the back of your head, and that way when it happens, you're not surprised. You're like, well, we knew this was gonna happen, just didn't know what.
We also always tell people, always count on it costing more than you planned and it taking longer than you planned, just to give them realistic expectations, because there's a lot of that along the way too.
Yeah, and I think, along with that whole idea of cost, take in mind that too, it's not like you're shopping at a store where you're trying to get the best bargain. You're trying to get the best quality work in your space and all that. And so sometimes that might be more than what you think it should be. And you don't want to skimp on that either, because that'll cause problems down the road. And same thing with product. You don't want to get the cheapest product on the market. You want to get good, durable product as well.
And I've also heard that there's something about ordering all these extra materials, and when I think about that, I just think of, oh God, my whole budget is just gonna be blown on all these little extras that I don't even know why I'm getting them.
Yeah, I think that's probably something people get freaked out a lot about because they want to minimize cost everywhere they can. And so they want to order like down to the inch on something, and then realize, well, you're gonna have waste. That's just part of construction and renovation. So when you're talking about tile, the general rule of thumb is, somewhere between 5 to 10% extra depending on the shape of the tile. If you have a very rectangular tile, you can, do better with waste. If you have one that, has a different shape to it, you've got to order a little bit more waste, and that's just part of it. That's kind of built into the cost of it, and some people have to be okay with and understand.
Something that a lot of people are not usually prepared for, especially in our neck of the woods, which would be Nashville, Tennessee, would be the codes. Now, depending on where you live, they're going to be different everywhere, but it has held quite a few people up for a good year and a half based on where they live, and that can be so frustrating.
Somehow I feel like you're speaking from your own experience with that 1.5 year mark.
Yeah, it held us up for about a year.
Yeah, and I think part of that too, you've got understanding too that the codes are there for reasons, obviously, and to get passed on your inspections, you've got to know them and do them. So you need to be aware of them. If you don't have a contractor yourself, you need to be aware of them so that you don't violate them and have to rip everything out you just put in.
You need to do it correctly.
Right.
It's just usually something that people aren't prepared for as far as the timeline goes, and usually it can end up costing people more money because they're waiting, or they might be in an apartment waiting to get into their house, and codes can hold you up, and that can be a nasty surprise if you're not mentally ready for that. So we do recommend investigating in your area what the codes are and being up to date and being prepared for that, because that can be a nasty little surprise.
Yeah, and even thinking budget-wise, some people don't budget for things like permits and inspections, and those all cost money. You have to pay for the inspector to come inspect it and give you a little sticker that you passed it, and so those other things you kind of have to add into your budget plan.
Well, what are some of the things that in the middle of a reno and where you're just waiting for inspections that you can do to kind of help keep that process going?
I think one of the biggest things is supplies. Just having them already picked out and ready to be delivered if they're not already on site. I think also communicating with the people who are going to do the installation. So you're keeping them abreast of how close you are, and hey, we're on schedule, we need you this day, instead of just calling them up and say, hey, can you be here tomorrow? And then be like, no, I got another job, I can't be there tomorrow. So I think just good communication all around with your suppliers and with the people doing the install.
So thank you both for all your really great advice and your fun stories about all the things they don't tell you about renovations. Thanks for joining us today on this episode of Jeffrey Court's Designer Coffee Chats. We'll see you soon.